Hi guys, welcome in if you're a first-time viewer. Welcome back if you're a returning viewer. Thank you for your likes, your comments, your subscribes, and to those of you who have booked a personal reading with me. Please keep in mind that these are general messages, so do not take them personally. Take the messages that resonate and leave the rest behind. If you would like to book a personal reading with me, you can find that information in the description box below. 111, as I start this reading, what messages do you have for the collective at this time? Help me to articulate a clear and concise message in order for it to be received in the way that you want it to best be received. Help me to see what it is that I need to see to get the message across as clear as possible. And help me to deliver any messages that you deem worthy in order to serve your highest good, for the highest good of humanity with harm to none. What messages do you have for the collective at this time? What messages do you have for the collective at this time? Two more? Okay. Again, so I just tried to record this video, but it seemed like the message was coming out like a little bit all over the place. So I started it over. But this is the same frequency, right? There's something that you have manifested. There's something that you have created, right? That is trying to offer itself in your space, right? Something that you have manifested is trying to present the opportunity to you, but you keep denying it in a sense, right? So again, this is you manifesting wealth, you manifesting abundance, right? And also keep in mind that wealth and abundance may not come in it comes in many different forms, right? Because abundance and wealth are many different forms of currency. So when you manifest wealth, that does not mean that you're going to get $1 million lump sum deposit at one time, right? That means it can show up in many different ways and many different times, right? Or at any given time. So for example, someone offers to pay for your lunch, right? But because you are so much in your pride and your ego, you deny it, right? Well, that was an opportunity of wealth and abundance that was trying to present itself. But because it doesn't look like how you expected it to, you automatically shut it down, which in turn tells the universe that you may not really be ready for what it is that you have manifested. You may not really truly be ready for what it is that you have asked for because you are unwilling to kind of accept what it is that you have manifested, because it doesn't necessarily look like what you have perceived, right? It doesn't match the expectation that you have set for it to come in, right? Again, keep in mind that like expectations and standards are two different things, right? I did a reading on expectations and standards a little while back, so feel free to scroll through the videos. There may be a message in there for you if you feel called. If not, whatever, right? But again, like there's something that you have created, but you are almost causing a little bit of confusion or disruption in this manifestation because you're denying every opportunity of wealth and abundance that presents itself to you, right? It's almost as if like you're being called to expand your mind, expand your perception and how this is going to appear for you. And so you're neglecting your responsibility to grow and expand in those areas, in those ways, right? Because of your ego, because of your pride, right? Because of an unwillingness that you are, again, creating this resistance in the very thing that you have manifested. Clarified Devoted. I also recently did a reading on self-sabotage, right? Self-sabotaging the very thing that you have, the very blessings that you have asked for. So also feel free to check that one out. There may be a message in there for you, right? Again, something is ready to, something that you have committed yourself to. The Hierophant. Oh, look, this is God speaking to you. What are you committing to? Are you committing to your past or are you committing to your future, right? Like in this present moment, right, in that very instance, when that opportunity presents itself to you, hey, I'm offering to buy you lunch, right? Or hey, I'm offering to, whatever it is that may be showing up for you, right? Again, this is a general message, so that's just an example, right? But in that present moment, you yourself are making the decision to either commit to your past of lack or commit to your future of abundance and wealth, right? You have but a split second to make that decision. In those small moments, what aspect of your life you're committing to, right? By turning it away, you yourself are committing to the past of lack, right? You're committing to that self-doubt. You're committing to that lack of faith, right? You're committing to that limited perspective, right? But by accepting the blessing or accepting the opportunity or accepting the very piece of wealth or abundance that's being offered to you in that moment, by rejecting that, you in a sense are rejecting your future of wealth and abundance, right? Because the universe is only going to present those opportunities to you so many times before it completely turns it away, as in a sense of like, okay, your mind is telling you you want this, right? Your mind is saying you want wealth and abundance. You're speaking wealth and abundance. You feel it in your spirit that you are deserving and have earned wealth and abundance, right? But your actions are showing that you truly don't want it, because when it presents itself, you immediately shut it down. Like, no, thank you, because of your pride and ego, right? So definitely be mindful of that, right? Like multiple opportunities are coming at you, right? And it seems like you have to be aware of what part of yourself are you committing to in those instances, right? You have to be able to use like a higher sense of perspective, right? To be able to remove your ego, to be able to remove your pride in that sense, to be able to accept, right? It's almost like surrendering to a moment of vulnerability, right? Again, there's nothing negative in that offering. It's just an opportunity for you to save what it is that you have already acquired, right? By offering you more, right? Again, adding to the currency in which you have already accrued within yourself. But if you yourself see that offering as something that's diminishing your worth, or if you see that as a diminishing of your value, right, then that is what you're going to commit yourself to by denying it, right? Clarify Indecisive. This is very much like the last reading was very much like heart and throat chakra, right? Which is also here in this reading, but it was a little bit more balanced than the previous reading. Again, like your heart, you're speaking something, you feel it in your heart, you feel it in your spirit, right? Something that you're truly desiring. There's an expansion that is being required of you, but you are resisting this sense of growth and expansion, right? The Ten of Swords. And again, by denying this, you're only betraying yourself, right? You're only telling yourself that you're not worthy of the opportunities that present themselves to you, right? You yourself are telling the universe that you don't feel valuable enough to accept the opportunities that present themselves to you by denying them, right? You yourself are committing to stagnancy. You're committing to self-doubt, right? You're committing to those negative thoughts and habits that keep you in this wavering space of faith, right? It's almost like, again, like denying that is kind of like you feeding that imposter syndrome. Like, am I worthy of this, right? You may not be questioning that, but by denying that opportunity of wealth that presented itself to you, you're telling the universe that you are not who you say or believe that you truly are, right? You are not who you know yourself to be, right? Because you manifested that space of wealth. You manifested that opportunity for growth. You manifested that expansion that's trying to happen for you, right? You manifested the growth and abundance in which you're desiring to receive. But when it presents itself to you, you yourself are denying yourself of the growth that is required of you in order to receive, right? You have to open yourself up in order to grow and expand, right? And that means that you have to not, again, close yourself off from the opportunities that are presenting themselves to you. Analysis paralysis is almost like analysis paralysis is keeping you in this lost space, right? Where it is almost making you, it's almost making you like question your gift. It's almost making you question your ability, right? Do I truly have the ability to create and manifest the things in which I achieve? Well, yes, you do, because it presented itself to you. Do you have the ability? The question should then be, do you have the willingness to accept those opportunities, right? Do you have the willingness to be receptive of those opportunities when they present themselves to you? Because it's not like you haven't manifested them. Again, the opportunity presented itself to you. It's just that when it presented itself to you, your expectation didn't meet your reality. Therefore, you have perceived some sense of lack or some sense of self-doubt or some sense of lack of faith, right? That is then creating a distance between what it is that you have really achieved in life, right? Clarified Tantric. I hope this is making sense because there's so much coming through. You are who you say you are, right? Because you have created the reality in which you're already existing in. But again, growth and expansion requires vulnerability and openness from you, right? And so again, internally you've manifested something, but externally you also have to be willing to accept. That is part of manifesting, right? It's not just giving, it's not just receiving. It's an equal balance of both, an equal balance of giving and receiving, right? And so if you feel as if you always have to be the one giving, that's not living in true abundance and wealth, right? Because always giving is a lack energy. Always taking is a lack energy. There has to be an equal and balanced reciprocity for there to be a balanced flow state in the currency, right? Clarify tantric. The Three of Wands, right? What you have created, your expectations of what you have created, and justice. I just was talking about the transformation in equal and balanced opportunity, right? This is law and order. This is the balancing of the scales. This is you get what you deserve, right? And so if every time somebody presents an opportunity to you, or every time there is an opportunity for growth presented to you and you turn it down, you're very much deserving of that lack energy, because that's what you're desiring. That's what you're showing the universe and what you're desiring, right? But if you are willing, again, also know how to be, know how to use your discernment in the opportunities in which you choose to receive, right? Because just because an opportunity presents itself doesn't mean that you automatically have to accept it, right? But with your discernment in knowing, okay, this is adding value, right? This is ego aside, right? Pride aside. This is something that is adding to my value. There's no harm being done by somebody offering to buy you lunch, right? There's nothing being taken from you, right? The only thing is you're saving money, you're gaining food, and maybe you have just kind of exchanged a frequency with somebody, right? You exchanged a little bit of conversation, right? There was an equal and balanced exchange in that opportunity, right? Where you were able to, again, save your money and you were able to eat something that you desired, right? There's, again, nothing being taken from you in that source, right? But the only thing is, you have to expand, which means separating yourself from your ego in order to receive the very thing that was offered to you, right? So again, know that everything that you manifest will not always show up in the way that you expect it to, right? Your expectations does not always meet your reality. It's the standard that you set that will match the frequency and what it is that you are desiring to achieve, right? So again, like learning how to have that balance between the two, right? If I desire to receive wealth, then I will take any opportunity that adds value to what it is that I'm trying to create, right? I will not deny anything that is adding value, right? But I will learn to deny the things that diminish my value, right? I hope that makes sense, right? And so again, that is learning how to transmute energy, right? Instead of accepting their offer to buy lunch, you in turn, with your pride and ego, say, oh no, let me buy you lunch, right? Again, this is just an example, right? But in that instance, not only did you deny your wealth, but you took away from the value in which you're trying to acquire, right? Because you had to spend more than what was being offered to you, right? Therefore, creating an instance of lack, right? Creating an imbalance in the wealth in which you're trying to create, right? Can you see how that is a little bit confusing to the universe, where you're asking for something, it's offered to you, and not only do you deny it, but you give away the very thing that you are trying to acquire, right? That's a little bit confusing. Clarify generous. Very strong message here. Four of Wands and the World. What are you committing yourself to, right? What is it that you are reflecting, right? The wheel. What cycles, what patterns are you committing yourself to? What cycles and patterns are you reflecting back to the universe, as opposed to what the universe is trying to present to you, right? Because in that instance, when somebody offers to buy your lunch, I'm just going to continue to use the same example because it seems easier to be consistent in that way, right? But when somebody offers to buy you lunch, by accepting that wealth, you are reflecting back to the universe that you're willing to receive wealth, right? But by denying wealth in that sense, you are reflecting to the universe that not only are you denying the wealth, but you are contributing to the lack, right? Because not only did you deny that person buying you lunch, but you also in return offer to buy them lunch, which again is spending more than what you would have been receiving, right? So again, be mindful of what it is that you are reflecting to the universe, right? Be mindful of what your habits, right? Your thought patterns, right? The very things that you speak, right? The very environments that you place yourself in. You're telling the universe that you are willing to grow, yet you place yourself in environments that are only draining to the knowledge and what you have acquired instead of adding to it, right? So again, be mindful of what you're committing yourself to. What version of yourself are you reflecting? What version of yourself are you willing to pour into, right? Are you willing to pour into the future, your wealth and abundance and what you're trying to create? Or are you willing to commit to your past, right? That lack, that very thing that you're trying to get out of, right? Because again, you've already manifested the wealth and abundance in which you're trying to achieve. It's just when those opportunities present themselves to you, by denying them, you're only contributing to your lack energy. You're only contributing to your past, right? You're pouring in and you're telling the universe that you are committing to your comfortability, right? Again, in order to grow, in order to expand, you have to be willing to kind of place yourself in uncomfortable places so that you can then become familiar with new territory, right? The only way that we can grow is by exposure, by adventure, by exploration, right? By gaining a perspective that we did not once have before, right? By gaining knowledge that we did not once have before, by gaining a connection that we did not once have before, right? By, again, exposing yourself and exploring new opportunities, new environments, right? New ways of thinking, right? New ways of doing, right? New ways of being, new ways of existing. That is how you increase your growth and expansion, right? By placing yourself in things that add to your value and not diminishing them, right? So let's pull 4 cards to close this message out. I did not intend for it to be that long, but clearly this is something that really needed to be expressed because it came out twice, and the second time I pulled the reading, more cards came out than what came out in the first reading. So again, this is a very strong and present energy. Again, be mindful of denying the very thing that you desire to achieve. So let's pull 1 card for the lesson that we can learn surrounding this message, 1 card for the opportunities we can create surrounding this message, 1 card for what we can meditate on as the focus of this message, and 1 card for the new cycles and habits we can innovate to contribute to our growth and expansion surrounding this message. Very beautiful energy, but you definitely have a decision to make. You definitely have, some action to take as well, right? In those small moments. This is not something that is, this again, don't always expect a frequency to happen in one big shift, right? Sometimes it happens in the small moments, in the small choices we make on a daily basis, right? Those small moments make the biggest difference in our future, right? Over time. 1 card for what we can learn as the major lessons surrounding this message. One card for what we can learn as the major lessons surrounding this message. Judgment. Denial. Right. Use your discernment. Are you adding to your growth and expansion, or are you diminishing your value and your worth, right? Are you showing the universe that you are worthy of the things that you desire to achieve, or are you showing the universe that you're too afraid to grow and expand because you keep denying yourself the very thing that you asked for, right? 1 card for the opportunities we can create surrounding this message. Success, forgiveness. Again, don't be so hard on yourself, right? In those small moments, just make those changes. Make those changes in those small moments to feed your success, to feed your wealth, to feed your abundance, to feed the unconditional love in which you're desiring to achieve, right? Again, love is not necessarily a feeling, right? Love is a choice. Love is an action that you take every day, right? By drinking water on a daily basis, you're showing yourself love, right? You're making the choice to feed yourself healthy things, right? You're making the choice to not deny yourself of the very things that are required of you to live, right? To exist in this reality, right? Again, it's also not just a desire. Love is a necessity in life in order to grow, in order to achieve, in order to be wealthy, in order to be successful, right? Love is a necessity, just as important as water, right? And again, love is not always romance, right? So again, like, kind of expand your perspective and do your research on what it, like some inner self-reflection on what it truly means to experience love, what it truly means to exist in love, what it truly means to not only give love, but to receive it as well, right? Because again, love is not strictly romance. That is an element of it, right? That is a benefit of it, but is not the definition of what it is, right? So definitely be mindful of that. But again, in order to increase your opportunities and out of this message, learn to forgive yourself for those past mistakes that you've made. Learn to forgive yourself for the things that you choose to deny, right? Learn to forgive yourself for letting your ego and your pride get in the way of certain things, right? But also make the changes, right? We saw the death card at the bottom of the deck. Learn to make the necessary transformation in those small choices, in those small moments, to make the change that you need to add to your value, to add to your wealth, to add to your success, to add to your love, right? One card for what we can meditate on. That's the focus of this message. Friendship with freedom, right? What are you connecting yourself to? What are you bonding yourself to, right? Meditate on what it is meditate on every aspect of your life that exists in your reality, right? The environments you place yourself in. Are they adding to your value or are they diminishing your worth, right? Are they only taking from you? Are you the only one giving to those spaces, right? Your friendships, right? Your business partnerships, your romantic relationships, your career choices, right? Are you the only one giving or are you also receiving something in return, right? And also think outside of the material world, right? Think outside of the box as it relates to your finances or just like material things, right? When it comes to those things, be mindful of, like, when I place myself in these spaces, do I feel drained or do I leave feeling fulfilled? When I engage in certain conversations, do I feel like I've gained a new perspective? Do I feel like I've gained a sense of knowledge? Or do I feel like I've gained information that will add value to my life? Or do I feel like I have only contributed something that took away from me, right? So definitely meditate on that. The things that you're connecting to, the things that you are committing yourself to, are they adding to your worth and value or are they diminishing them, right? And one more card to the new cycles and habits we can innovate to contribute to our growth and expansion. Empathy and worry with acceptance, right? That's that self-doubt. That's that imposter syndrome, right? Remove yourself, right, from that imposter syndrome, right? You are who you say you are. You are the very thing that you have created in your life, right? Give yourself grace for the mistakes that you have made thus far, right? And give yourself the space to grow within making better choices, within creating better habits, within releasing certain addictions, right? Give yourself the grace and space to learn and grow in this life, in this time, right? Give yourself the space to, again, learn to accept by releasing your pride and ego in those moments where value is trying to be added to your life, right? But that is a message that I have for you guys. I hope that it resonated. I know that if you made it to the end of this video, you have found something in it that is worthy and valuable to you. If you need further clarification on how this message resonates for you personally, you know where to reach me. Feel free to email me, book a personal reading. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. That is the message that I have for you guys. Have a good one. Bye.